To measure the confidence interval from a single sample, first we need to somehow calculate the standard error. Standard error is in fact simply the standard deviation of the sampling distribution of sample means. Many people confuse these two terms, standard error and standard deviation. Standard deviation, in fact, is the measure of the variability within a sample, how spread out individual values are. For example, our sample 1, we can measure the standard deviation for this sample particularly. Okay, I'm gonna standard deviation for the first sample is STDEV, the formula for calculating standard deviation, and open parentheses. I'm going to select all the values in sample 1 from column D all the way to column CY. Okay, so the actual standard deviation in the first sample was 13.67 millimeters of mercury, and if I use the fill handle to complete all the values under this value, we see that the second sample was has the slightly smaller variability among all these values, 11.5. Third sample was has the standard deviation from the mean or the variability among these values of 11.6, and so on. Standard error, on the other hand, is the standard deviation of the sample means. If I can explain, I know it is a little bit confusing. So this standard deviation, let me color them up so it might be easier. I'm going to delete all these charts. Okay. So standard deviation is measuring the variability in the sample. Let's color them maybe blue. Okay, so if and we're gonna just color all of them blue. Okay, so standard deviation is in fact measuring the variability in each of these samples. Okay, so this is the standard deviation of the first sample and so on. Sample the standard error, I labeled it standard deviation previously because we have not explained standard error by then. So I'm gonna go ahead and change it to standard error. So, and let me color all of them as maybe brown. Okay, so standard deviations are in blue. They are measuring the variability in each sample, and then sample error, standard error is measuring the variability in between each sample. Okay, the sample means of each error of each sample. For example, the first sample had the mean of 81.7, second at 83.4. So how much variability is there in between these sample is measured by standard error. Luckily, we do have a formula to measure the standard error and then ultimately confidence interval based on just one single sample. And the formula is right here. Standard error equals standard deviation of the sample of the population divided by square root of n being the number of participants in the study. But again, we do not have the population standard deviation, so we replace it with the standard deviation of the sample. Then the formula would look something like this. Make it a little bigger. Standard deviation of the sample, standard deviation of a sample divided by underscore n, square root of n.